Good morning, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be here this morning and to recognise actually many of the faces in the audience. So I'm a partner at Medano Partnership. I tend to go by that really much more than my cake baking or my Zoom activity. And Medano Partnership have been engaged by Leitrim County Council to be involved with the Harnessing Creativity project through delivering workshops around capacity building, and that's where I recognise some faces from, and that's been a real pleasure to be involved with that and to actually see some of the fruits of all the labour that has been going on over the past months. I guess when asked to talk this morning, asked to talk around the theme of applications of creativity and collaboration. And that's a great opportunity for someone who's interested in this space and to really dig in and think about what are some of the really good examples of this that I've seen. So I've purposely this morning gone quite big scale, tried to think big and tried to start us off our discussion this morning by thinking far beyond our backyard and thinking quite about big projects and big initiatives that demonstrate these behaviours, really on the premise that if big organisations can do these things, and yesterday I was at Unilever House for another project which is obviously produces delightful things like Hellmann's mayonnaise and washing powder, etc. And if big organisations like that can do creativity and collaboration, where the 8th floor very often doesn't necessarily know what the first floor is doing, then surely creativity and collaboration should be much easier delivered and undertaken by smaller groups of people, by dynamic individuals who can work together, get to know one another, help open one another's minds and make things happen. So that's the premise I start with, really, that if these big organisations can do it, then surely lots of small SMEs can do it as well. And I know these organisations have got resources, and that many times some of this work does, of course, come down to resources. But I think as the pilots have demonstrated, you can achieve things on relatively small scale resources, and it's actually all about up here. It's about opening up here. So if we move on just to talk, I've got 3 examples, and I purposely tried to find examples that were from different walks of life. So I've got one that's in relation to an event, one that actually does come from the world of science and is about a big institution that's been around a long time, and another one that is much more in relation to a system and a platform. So if I could have my first slide. The first thing I wanted to talk about is the London Olympics. I don't know if anyone here went to the Olympics, was involved with it in any capacity. No, I guess you watched some of it on the television, perhaps. Yeah? Yeah. A really great, fantastic, phenomenal example of creativity and collaboration. Now, this is the point that it's, I guess, easy to make around something like the Olympics is that this demonstrates very clearly that creativity and collaboration is much more than good teamwork, it's much more than good coordination. It's actually about, the London Olympics were actually about much more than that. And if you look at some of what was undertaken through the London Olympics, you can very clearly see that. London set its stall out as being very much about doing things differently than things had been done before, and they did that right through from how the stadium was built and put together, some of the actual exhibition or actual spaces being much more sustainable than previously, being, I guess, facilities that could be put up and down. So they considered these things in relation to the structure and the fabric of the buildings. Things like the torch, for example, if you've been to, I've had the privilege of going to the Olympic Museum in Geneva, where you can see all of the torches that have been used in the Olympics over time. You kind of think, oh gosh, this is hard to be creative, because this is, how much creativity can you apply to a lit flame that needs to be carried, that's been done over time, how can you do it differently? And the team involved with that, I would say, did quite a lot in engendering quite a lot of symbolism around that, but they also, the relay and the activities that took place around the torch actually were very innovative. Another thing would be the torch, or the centrepiece that Thomas Heatherwick designed. I don't know if people are familiar with that, but that was welded out of copper. It was constructed so that each country that involved could have a small piece that they brought to the stage in the opening ceremony. It was all put together and it became one, and is a very good symbol of bringing of these individual parts together. So again, I just think it's a very good example of creativity and collaboration, and the use of volunteers, which obviously hadn't been the case since the UK had hosted the Olympics previously. So a good reminder of what brilliance creativity and collaboration can achieve. That had to be much more than the sum of the parts that were offered in the resources. And you know, this is a project that took place over a long period of time that required a lot of ingenuity and collaborative thinking. If we go on to the second slide, this is the Hadron Collider, which is part of CERN. I don't know if anyone knows much about this, but CERN are the European Organisation for Nuclear Research. They're an international organisation. They've been around for a long time. Their purpose is to operate the world's largest particle physics lab. This place is also the birth of the World Wide Web with Tim Berners-Lee. And it's a wide area of networking and collaboration. Now, you may say this is easy. This is easy, it's a big organisation, it's got lots of resources. And I would ask you to think again about that, because as an institution, it has 7,000 scientists from 85 countries around the world. It's got collaborations that go on for 20 years. It's no small feat. The scientists that get involved with this work don't get personal credit in relation to the work that they do. Their paychecks are controlled by different organisations, not by CERN. It's in a cylindrical building, so as a building they are encouraged to collaborate around, move around that building, collaborate with one another. The sorts of projects they do, there's a project called Atlas, which is a piece of equipment, and that's entirely the wrong way to refer to it, because it weighs as much as the Eiffel Tower. It has 20 million components. There's 3,000 kilometres of cables. There's 5 million lines of computing code involved with it. That's a project. Now, how do you make projects like that work when you have no traditional set forms of hierarchy? There's no CEOs, there's no directors. They have summit meetings. They have lots of, obviously, regular communication. There's lots of online activity. You can log in and watch presentations and all of that. So why do I mention this? I mention this because actually a lot of the success about the creativity and collaboration that happens there is, of course, about the scientific brilliance, but also about the culture that they have and the way they've set themselves up as an organisation. And it just paused me to think, and it was one of the things that we talked about within the workshops, is to think about work environment and how applicable or how helpful and supportive your work environment is to being creative and being collaborative and enabling people to think and get on with some of the more creative things that you might want them to do. So creativity and collaboration does actually sustain very, very big organisations. And the third example is my systems example, which you're all very familiar with, I'm sure, here, this concept of crowdsourcing, which is the practice of obtaining services from a wider group of people. And some people hopefully are familiar with Kickstarter. Anyone familiar with Kickstarter? Yeah? It's a website for raising funding, particularly for creative projects. So you can put your creative project on there, you say how much money you want to generate, and people can offer that money to you for your project. So as a platform, it offers huge opportunity for creativity and collaboration. There's projects that go on there that are from individuals, there's projects that go on there that are from organisations and collaborations, etc. And so I felt it was a system, it's a platform, if you like, that really offers an opportunity to embed creativity and collaboration in how we all work. This one that's raised over $100 million. So the proof of it is in the pudding, I would say. So really, those are three very big examples, and indulge my thinking around applications of creativity and collaboration that might inspire us all a little bit this morning as we discuss and see the rest of the films later on. I guess just some reflections that I have on creative collaborative approaches and what they tend to allow you to do. And anybody who's been in the labs, I'm sure, been working with Nick, has been hopefully able to see and say some of these things. And this is not to say that any of this activity is easy. it's hard for all of us to park our preconceptions, to park the things that we think about how things should be done, the things that we've got on our mind, the definite skills and attributes that we've got as individuals, to park all those and to be truly open-minded and truly creative and truly creative. And to be able to listen to other people with respect and to take from them great ideas and to build things together. So I'm sure those who have been involved in the labs, as I've said, have been encouraged to work with different people from different backgrounds, from diverse projects, been encouraged to view the world through the other people's eyes, see the world through the eyes of your potential customers, see the eyes through the world of your potential stakeholders. Have appreciated the value of framing, reframing and framing again the problems at hand, to try to brainstorm, to look at all the possible options for solving some of the problems. And I'm sure you've been given tools to manage creativity, your creativity, apply your creativity, but also tools that really help you work with one another collaboratively. And some of these things happen, I think, as part of these workshops without people necessarily realising the process that they've been through, and that actually some things about how they think and work have changed. And that ultimately creativity and collaboration pushes you far beyond your comfort zone, and that's what it should be about. Thank you.